Hello, and welcome back to A Nerd's Journey. I'm your host Mark, and today we're going to be talking about this week, the accountability, how much I've lost or gained, and what I've been doing this week. But before that, if anybody likes this video, please do hit subscribe, and please share with anybody who you think might benefit from these videos. Let's get to it. So this week, what's the journey been like this week? It's been icy and snowy here on the ground, so getting up in the dark and taking the dogs for a long walk hasn't really been possible. It's been too icy. So this week I've been mostly focusing on other activities, a little bit of yoga, a couple of sessions on the rowing machine, and actually being very focused on what I'm eating this week again. So it's all been about volume eating, it's been about tracking everything in MyFitnessPal, and about being really careful with what I've been doing, knowing that this week I've not done as much exercise as I would normally have done in a week. And that's probably going to be the case over the next few weeks as we get closer to Christmas and it remains cold, icy, and I don't want to do myself an injury. So I understand that I've done less exercise, so I've been particularly careful on the actual eating for this week. Still relatively clean, and I still hate that word, but it's been very focused on the calories in, making sure I'm at a deficit, making sure that the activity I do is as much as I can in the bad weather we've got and the short days we've got. Obviously, you'll probably meet the dogs at some point, but they need to be walked every day, so they still have been getting that, just not as far. And I've been sticking to paths and things that are gritted and kept relatively clear, rather than up the hill into a country park. So this week's mostly been about what I've been eating, controlling it, being mindful of it, and making myself stay full by the volume eating. And if you want to know more about that, please do look at the video earlier this week. In terms of going forward, it's going to be the same, I think, next week, in terms of looking at the weather forecasts and things. So really focusing on the diet part of this journey at the minute, and then making do with whatever exercise I can fit in. So that's been the journey this week. I suppose you want to know about the results. Okay, so accountability. And you probably can tell that I'm smirking, so it's been a good week. But where are we so far? Week 0, 301 pounds, 136.7 kilograms. Week 1 was 288 pounds, or rather 288.8 pounds, and 131 kilograms. This week I have actually lost 2 kilograms, which is 4.4 pounds. So I'm down to 284.3 pounds and 129 kilograms. So a great week from that point of view. I've lost another 2 kilograms, 4 pounds, 4.4 pounds, which is great. Very happy. But a couple of other things. I've talked in a previous video about goals and keeping them small and reasonable as you go through. So I actually hit 2 goals this week, which I'm exceedingly chuffed about. I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the UK we have, once you get to a certain scale, you go from being normal weight, depending on your body mass index, to overweight, obese, and then morbidly obese. And the definition of morbidly obese is if you have a BMI of over 40. Now, when I started this journey, I had a BMI of over 66. Yes, that's a big number. At today's weigh-in, I then recalculated the TD calculator to work out next week's food plan, etc. And I actually now have a BMI of 39.8, which, although that means I'm still fat and I'm still massively overweight and I still have a long way to go, it means for the first time in an awfully long time, I am no longer morbidly obese. I'm simply obese, which might be small, might not mean much to a lot of people, but if you're on a massive weight loss journey, that's a big thing. So one goal achieved this week, which is absolutely brilliant. The second thing is I bought a walking jacket some time ago, with the goal of actually being able to get into it and everything else, and it did have several inches to go before it actually closed. Now I'm certainly not going to be wearing that jacket out tomorrow, but for the first time this morning, because I try it every week when I weigh myself, for the first time this morning I could actually do the zipper up. I looked like a barrel being rolled off a dock, but the point is, goal number 2 is I can actually do the zipper up. So my next goal for that is actually being able to wear a t-shirt under it and actually wear it out with the dogs and going walking. So 2 goals ticked off. I'm already thinking about the next goals I'm setting for myself. But 4.4 pounds, 2 kilograms, and I am no longer morbidly obese. So this week has been a very good week. Okay, thank you very much for watching along with this video. As I've said numerous times, there are a range of videos now on the channel in terms of hints and tips and things to think about if you're on a weight loss journey or if you're just trying to get motivated and get fitter. Please do share those with anybody you think that might benefit from them. And there will be more blogs on the actual website as soon as I've had a chance to spell check them, because anybody who knows me knows I can't spell to save my life. So those will be available over the coming days and weeks. Please do share. Please leave a comment if there's anything you specifically want to talk about and have a video about, or anything I can do to actually help. Please do subscribe, and hopefully I shall see you in the coming weeks. Thank you.